the Edmonton Football Club recently announced they changed their name. Nate, we were both on Edmonton. We both have a new understanding of what that name means and everything entails. You happen to write an article with an Inuit leader, a Nook leader, within McLean magazine. What was the coolest thing that come out of that? What did you learn that you can share with us?
Yeah, absolutely. So the article is from Mateo Red, leader of the ITK. He's the president, I should say, the elected president of the ITK Inuit Therapy. Kaparit. I'm probably going to butcher that name. I'm still working on it. But yeah, he's one of the most intelligent people I've ever encountered. I met him at a dinner, or I should say a social distancing event at Minister McKenna's house here in Ottawa. And just hearing him talk, it was just like mind blowing. He's super stoic and quiet, and like every time he talks, you just like grip the wall. Like, wow, that was the smartest thing I've ever heard. And just the perspective he has from battling this issue for so long was just mind blowing to me, because I think about in a lot of ways he's a civil rights leader, right? Like him fighting for Inuit rights, for Nook rights across Inuit and Nangat is like it's very literally a civil rights issue. So I picture leaders that we can all think of. We picture Malcolm X, we picture Martin Luther King, like having to, or Fred Hampton, like you picture them having to argue with like the NBA to be like, can you change the name the Alabama Jim Crows? Like that would never happen. Like, and this is sort of my closing point in the whole thing, because of like it came to me organically just listening to him talk, and how like some of the things that resonated with me was like, as Black individuals, three of us here, like we know that our people have been one of the most subjugated and dehumanized in Western society for hundreds of years, 400 or so to be exact. And even still with all of that, nobody would ever consider making a slur, even if only 33%, even if 25% of Black people thought it was a slur, nobody would ever allow for a team name to have that name. Right. If 1 in 4 Black people were like, that kind of offends me. Not even like, wow, I'm gonna go ball my eyes on crime, but even if we're just like, that's offensive to me, people would be like, yeah, you're right. And they would burn down the facility if the name didn't change. And this has been a name for over 100 years, with the claims that it somehow is trying to uplift or celebrate. But it's like, now we're also just putting some fake lenses on what history is. Because in 1897 or whatever it was, I can't imagine that they were just entirely super woke in Edmonton, Alberta in 1897 in regards to how they treated and the thoughts of Inuit people.
I don't mean
that's a pretty a revised history as far as I'm concerned. So that was the thing that stuck out the most to me, was just like how ridiculous this conversation is to even have. And the thing that he said, which I know many people have been saying through the Black Lives Matter movement and all that, is like it's not the place of the people who are setting the culture to tell people that are racialized what racism is. It's their job to listen to what's racist. Like, and the fact that Inuit people for so long have had to say this, and that everybody just expects because they handpicked 1 or 2 leaders in the West that they said it, that it's just everyone's a monolith and they're all the same. That like it was mind blowing to me and mind opening, and I honestly felt guilty for a while. Like I really did sit there for 2 years and say next to nothing about it. So it was pretty cool.
Yeah, Justin, just going to you. For me, thinking about it and thinking about how long it took and how they kept pointing to consensus to say that, oh, we have this study, we went out there, we talked to these leaders, handpicked leaders here and there. But at the end of the day, there are still people that were outraged by the name. Money spoke. The sponsor said that they weren't going to continue to sponsor the team if something wasn't changed. Was it a case of money speaking in this situation, or was there something deeper to spike the name change so quickly?
No, it definitely was. If you see the Edmonton Football Club's, let's say, statements before and after the sponsors essentially delivered an ultimatum, Bel-Air Direct and Sports Interaction was the second one, they completely changed. They had said that they weren't going to change the name. And then all of a sudden, a couple weeks later, especially after the Bel-Air Direct ultimatum, they said, we're accelerating the process of looking at potentially changing our name. So even though the EE football team, as they're known now, wants to say, well, it wasn't one specific event, to me, it was all about the money, that those sponsors finally delivered the ultimatum. And then at the same time, obviously, you had the NFL's Washington franchise change their name. So all of the focus was then on Edmonton. There was 500 media people on that press conference. It was virtual, but to listen to the reasons behind the name change when President Chris Presson was talking about it. So to me, that tells you the amount of sort of criticism that was being levied at the team for keeping the name. And Nate laid out so many great points, man, that even though there was no consensus, there were still a lot of outspoken individuals that are in a, that, to be quite frank, I have very much of a small background of knowledge on them that were saying this is a derogatory term. So they should have changed it to me years ago, but ultimately it came down to money. It's too bad they weren't proactive about